Claude Code just stopped being a thing you watch scroll by in a terminal. As of this weekend, Pro and Max users can turn a live coding session into a shareable web page, a PR walkthrough, a living dashboard, an incident timeline, published to a private link that updates itself as the work happens. This is Mainframe, your daily guide through the AI chaos. What actually happened, who is winning, and how to take yourself to the next level. It is Sunday, July 5th, 2026. I am Nova.
And I am Dex.
On today's Mainframe, Artifacts in Claude Code opens up beyond the enterprise wall, and it changes how you hand work to a client. A brand new proxy called Condense claims to cut your coding agent token bill by up to 72% with published receipts. The Alibaba versus Anthropic feud goes fully Cold War, with a company-wide Claude Code ban landing this week. And on the money layer, Vercel's own production data shows exactly who is winning the token economy, and it is not who wins the volume chart. Let's get into it.
Quick note before the board. The voices you are hearing are AI. The reporting, the numbers, the calls we make on them, all human. Now, the big picture.
Here is the state of play, and it is cleaner than the noise suggests. Vercel runs the AI gateway, which sees production traffic from over 200,000 teams, tens of trillions of tokens. Guillermo Rauch animated the spend race this week, and the numbers are stark. Anthropic's spend share grew from 61% to 65% in May, and it takes 70 to 80% of spend across every high-stakes use case.
But the volume chart tells the opposite story. In April, DeepSeek was less than 1% of gateway tokens. In May, its volume share jumped to 17%, putting it third, ahead of OpenAI.
Right, and that is the whole game in one data point. In the AI coding agent category, DeepSeek drove 49% of the token volume, but only 4% of the cost. Cheap models carry the grunt work. The expensive models get paid for the answers that have to be right. Premium reasoning calls land on Claude Opus. Cheap fast calls land on Gemini Flash. Spend follows the high-stakes calls, and volume follows the low-stakes ones. For you at the keyboard, this is not a chart to admire. It is a routing rule to copy. Send the boilerplate to the cheapest model that clears your quality bar. Reserve the frontier for the calls that carry your reputation, and pocket the difference. Which is exactly what today's tool story lets you do harder.
Which brings us to the sponsor.
Brought to you by Outpace. Look at that spend chart again. The leverage was never the model. It was the operator who knew which model to point where. That is Outpace, a 30-year operator who built real businesses, real estate, hospitality, food, a theater, now aims a full team of AI agents at one client's project at a time, strategy to ship. It is a system, not a freelancer, and not a faceless mega agency. The agents do the work, one senior operator directs them, and at the end, you own the code and the keys. If you have a project that has been sitting in a someday folder, book a 30-minute call at outpace.media. That is outpace.media.
The Wire. Lead story. Artifacts in Claude Code.
We covered the June 18th launch when this was locked to team and enterprise. The Delta this weekend, flagged by testing catalog. Claude adds artifacts to Claude Code, turning session work into live, shareable web pages. For PR walkthroughs, incident pages, dashboards, and checklists. The important shift is who can reach it. Pro and Max users now get access. Claude Code can capture work progress as an artifact. A live, shareable page, including PR walkthroughs, system explainers, dashboards, and release checklists, that update themselves as your session works, whether it is investigating an incident, refactoring a service, or analyzing months of data.
And it builds from what already exists. Claude Code builds an artifact using the full context of your session, including your codebase, connectors, and the conversation itself, so you don't need to wire up data sources or stand up infrastructure. You ask for a page, and it builds it.
Know the fence, though. An artifact is a capture of work, not an application. Each one is a single, self-contained HTML page capped at 16 megabytes, wrapped in a strict security policy that blocks all external network requests. So no live backend, no form submissions. The move this week. Next time you finish a real task, ask Claude Code to publish an artifact walking through the diff, and send that link to your client instead of a status email. You just turned invisible terminal work into a deliverable. One catch worth pricing in. Generating a styled page uses more output tokens than plain terminal text, so a heavy artifact costs more.
Story 2. And it is a direct answer to that cost. Condense.
This is the fresh one, open to the public July 3rd, flagged by Testing Catalog and Min Choi. Condense.chat opened public access to a context compression proxy for coding agents, a system that sits between the agent and the upstream model, shrinking each request before billing. And it cuts token bills by up to 72% on deep sessions. Here is the problem it targets, and it is real. In a working agent loop, the model is re-sent the system prompt plus the whole conversation on every turn. So by mid-session, it has reread the same early context hundreds of times. Across 12 real sessions, cache reads were 67% of a typical bill.
Two models do the work. How are they different from just summarizing?
Good question, because this is the clever part. Helene 1 is extractive. It scores every token and keeps the survivors verbatim, a strict subset of what your agent actually saw. The second, Adeline 1, takes whole settled agent loops the session has moved past and packs each into one short summary that keeps intents, file paths, identifiers, errors, and code, landing at roughly 9% of the original tokens. And the safety design matters here. The skeleton, meaning the system prompt, user messages, final answers, and paired tool calls with their results, is preserved byte for byte and never rewritten. Code, patches, and error output are never touched. That is the difference from a lossy image trick like the one we covered yesterday. This keeps your exact bytes where exactness matters.
Story 3. The Alibaba ban.
We have tracked this feud since Anthropic accused Alibaba of a distillation campaign on June 24th. The new development this week, carried by The Information, Reuters, and Kimanismus, Alibaba banned employees from using Claude Code and asked them to remove all Claude models from their work computers. Effective July 10th, employees are banned from Claude Code in the workplace and must uninstall all Anthropic products, and Alibaba is recommending its self-developed platform, Coder, instead. The stated trigger reports that Claude Code contained mechanisms to inspect users' computing environments, including time zone and proxy settings, to identify whether users were operating from China, which some researchers described as a potential backdoor.
And Anthropic's side of that?
Anthropic disputed the characterization. An employee wrote on X that the feature was introduced as an experiment in March to combat unauthorized account resellers and prevent model distillation. The builder read, "This is two superpowers fighting over model theft, but the lesson for you is smaller and sharper. Coding agents touch your source, your systems, your keys. Companies are no longer letting any AI tool into their workflows. If a tool can tap source code or company data, leadership wants to know exactly what it does and who controls it." Audit what your agent phones home. That is not paranoia now. That is diligence.
Repo Spotlight. Two picks, both about the same enemy: wasted tokens.
First, our trending pick is Condense itself, because it is genuinely a same-day install. On Mac or Linux, you run curl-fssl https://cli.condense.chat/unix piped to bash. Drop it in front of your coding agent. No key swap. It requires no change to the system prompt, so the tool's results remain untouched. The move: run one long Claude Code session through it, watch the dashboard, and read your own savings before you trust the headline. They are even giving 100 million free tokens to prove your agent is wasting context. Credit to the Condense team.
And the hidden gem?
The hidden gem is a mindset tool, not a proxy. OpenWiki from LangChain by Brace Sproul's team. We name-checked it Saturday. Today, the how-to, because it solves the bloated Claude.md problem directly. It is a CLI that writes and maintains documentation for your codebase built for agents. It creates a wiki in an OpenWiki folder and automatically appends prompting to your agents.md or Claude.md files to tell your coding agent to reference it when searching for context. Most agents already read Claude.md for instructions, but that file is not the right place to store hundreds of pages of docs. It should point the agent toward the right context, then let it retrieve what it needs. Then you make it durable. Add the included GitHub action to open a PR once a day with documentation updates. Install it, point it at your messiest repo, and stop stuffing everything into one instruction file.
The deep dive. The through line today is a single question: who controls how many tokens your work costs? Nobody fully does, and that is the whole story.
Look at what's stacked up this week. Artifacts get cheaper to distribute, but cost more tokens to generate. Condense ships to cut those tokens by up to 70%. Vercel's data shows the frontier getting more expensive per token, even as cheap models flood in. And zoom out to the hardware. This week, per the information via Andrew Curran and Testing Catalog, Samsung is in discussions with Anthropic to manufacture its custom AI chips, considering Samsung Foundry's 2-nanometer process and advanced packaging. Every layer of this industry is now bending toward one goal: bringing the cost per token down. But here is the honest part. Those chip discussions remain preliminary. Custom chip design typically takes 18 months to 2 years, and Anthropic won't see chips shipping until late 2027 at the earliest.
So the cavalry is real, but years out.
Years out. Which means the only cost lever you actually control today is the one at your keyboard: how much junk you send the model. That is why the boring proxy beats the exciting chip this quarter. So here is how you put it into action, concretely, this week. Step 1. Instrument one real Claude Code workflow. Log tokens per completed task, get a baseline. Step 2. Install Condense in front of it. Run the identical task and read the savings off your own numbers, not the marketing. Step 3. For that same repo, run OpenWiki so the agent pulls context on demand instead of dragging a bloated instruction file into every turn. Step 4. Write the routing rule down. Cheap model by default, frontier on purpose, exact bytes for anything with a hash, a key, or an ID. Do those 4 and you have turned a chaotic pricing landscape into a margin you own, on models you can already reach.
And that margin is yours to keep, not to hand back to the client.
Exactly. Bank the spread.
Level up this week.
Your one move: install Condense on a single long-running Claude Code session. Run one real task through it, and read your own savings off the dashboard before you trust the number. If it holds at half the tokens with your byte-exact stuff untouched, that is your cheapest margin this month. And if you want every story, number, and link from today in your inbox, subscribe to the free Mainframe newsletter. It is the written brief, no fluff, every morning.
That is the show. We will see you tomorrow.
Send the model less junk. Keep the spread. This has been Mainframe.